Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you may be tuned into the show today, as long as you can hear us, see us, if that's available for your current situation. No, don't be pulling us up on your Tesla screen or anything like that. I don't think you can, but well, I'm sure there's ways you can, but don't do it is what I'm saying, because we got a lot to talk about. And yes, we are still radio focused. Don't worry. That's why we mentioned it at the start of all the ways you can tune in. But there's some more interactive ways. Again, if available for your situation, don't be doing the wheel between the knees while on your phone kind of thing. Don't be that, but there's been too many of those people out there. Or the phone right in front of the face. Oh, right. Am I driving? Am I not? Just don't do it, please. They've got enough going on out there. A lot of serious stuff for us to delve into for today. Of course, major updates coming from the situation involving El Paso's district attorney. Well, spoiler alerts, she's resigning. What is coming next and what that will mean for a variety of the situations being involved here. Also, some interesting border enforcement or immigration enforcement, more accurate way to put it, coming from the Mexican side of things being reported on here locally. We'll talk a little bit further about that, as well as some of those initial indications coming out of the actual, start of the holiday shopping season been going on since just after Halloween, if you count what's been going on in store shelves, but what some of the actual travel and spending situations look, as well as some more of those economic outlooks as we get into this busiest time of year for anyone involved in retail. And while, yes, you don't throw those elbows, I can see why you might be tempted to, having braved. I didn't do the whole Black Friday or Thanksgiving early Eve, whatever thing, but having had to go out over the weekend a couple of times, definitely busy, and definitely all those people that go out of town back in town here. So a lot to get into today. So again, however you're tuning in to do so, like we have James Holmes dropping that like over on the social media, the Facebook page there. Do appreciate that. That's one of the better ways you can do so throughout the entire show here. But a lot of serious things going on, so we'll definitely be getting into that. So let's delve right into probably what's going to dominate a lot of discussion for the coming week, or let's just call it through. I do believe it's December 14th. As what has now been stated, that is the effective date, 5 p.m. to be most specific, as we also have Austin Redfern joining us over on the social media. Hello to you as well. Yeah, December 14th at 5 p.m. That is the date said by El Paso District Attorney Yvonne Rosales, writing in her letter of resignation to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, as the effective date that she will no longer be in the position. On or by, effectively, is when that will mean here. So that is now going to, and this is according to Rosales' new attorney, Richard Roman, and also being reported on by our news partners over there at KFOX 14. The DA's first assistant, George Alhana, will serve as the temporary replacement in the meantime, and then an interim replacement will be chosen by the governor. So I also have Ida Beza Gardner, hello to you as well, and Eric von Holstein-Rathlow, good Monday to you as well, and him saying, I pray everyone had a blessed Thanksgiving weekend. Was a pretty good one. We had some interesting situations going on with some of our sister stations, so it was a busy one for me, but hope you all found it relaxing, joyful, thankful, whatever you wanted it to be, hopefully, and ended up being here. But yeah, delving back into these issues here, we got more that's going to be coming out from our news partners here. There actually is still some pending things going on with this, because there's more than a couple of legal situations going on at this point in time. Just as a reminder of some of the things in the lead up to this situation involving El Paso District Attorney Yvonne Rosales, there was, according to other court filings, particularly those involved in the August 3rd Walmart shooting case, filed by defense attorneys in that case, saying that they have been unable to locate and therefore serve the district attorney related to certain filings going on with that case here. Obviously, kind of not being served is never exactly like it's a normal process. There's something adversarial at that point going on, but that has not been able to happen. And this attorney was supposed to be in court, actually, I do believe, this afternoon. But, well, we'll see if there's any further updates from our news partners on that. Not going to hold my breath, because given the fact that there has now been this announced resignation, And they actually do have a file photo from our news partners there at KFOX 14 Rosales with, again, the expected next replacement or interim replacement. We got a few terms that are going to be at play here. We have the temporary replacement, and then there will be an interim replacement. I think one of the remaining questions I still haven't been able to track down a good one for myself here is what happens after the governor selects a replacement. This is one of those things that, I don't know if I mentioned it in this format or not, that this is one of those added bits of maybe not totally expected, but definitely important subtext that was going on with the gubernatorial race. Because, yes, governors do have, Texas has its own state level law enforcement and legal prosecution parts of it, and that's why some of the, again, there is so much pretext to this finally coming to this culmination of getting into this resignation, including, of course, that letter that was sent out both to the attorneys general of Texas and of the United States, with the, I think, probably the most impacting response coming from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, saying that we can take over this case if you want, but we're not going to be comparing notes. My paraphrasing, not their exact words. It was bit more formal. I can guarantee you that much. I don't have it exactly in front of me, but that was essentially what's coming out of it. And that's one of those remaining questions that then comes up, for me at least, is will the district attorney's office still be leading the prosecution of the state level August 3rd case and the indicted shooter in this case, or will now the state, and I do mean as in the full state government and not any other local office, be the ones stepping in to see the prosecution of this case? We're going to basically be seeing when actually resignation happens. I do believe, again, according to multiple sources reporting on this, among other, the title of the article from El Paso Matters, El Paso DA Yvonne Rosales resigns, ending troubled 2-year tenure, mentioning a few different things effective December 14th, which is, of course, the day before a hearing that could have led to her suspension or removal from the job pending the full removal court hearing. So a lot of that drama that was more than a little bit possible here. So the question is, what happens after that? Does the interim then stay until the end of the term, until 2024? Or do we possibly be looking at other elections? Most of the references I've seen is that, yes, that will be the case, that it will be that the replacement selected by the governor will be in place. And so that change, that whoever replaces and finally gets put into the place there, the tenure and obviously qualifications are going to be needed there. John Hurts with some implications on the title there, saying you don't resign if you are innocent. I don't much like to comment on the innocence or lack thereof of anyone until they've actually had their day in court. But what I will say is that this has been quite the embattled office over the last, frankly, pick a time frame. Let's call it the last months in any case here. So certainly entitled to your opinion on it there. El Paso Matters also posting what reported to be the full resignation letter. So let me just quote from it in its entirety here. Governor Abbott, it's been an honor and pleasure to serve as District Attorney of El Paso, Hudspeth, and Culberson counties. So it was a heavy heart that I tendered my letter of resignation effective 5 p.m. December 14th, 2022. Effective immediately, First Assistant Mr. Sala George Alhana shall assume all duties and responsibilities as Acting District Attorney. Mr. Alhana will ensure the daily operations of the office will continue to run smoothly and minimize any disruption in the serving the victims of crime. Sincerely, Yvonne Rosales. And so that is, of course, one of the big questions that would come up to my mind, and I'm sure plenty of other people's minds after this, is what happens now, even in this interim period. Of course, one of those other bits of pretext that have been going on before this point has been the dismissal of cases, those having been sought by the public defender's office, because, those are concerning in their own right, particularly since any protective order, any bench orders, anything like that goes away if the case is dismissed, even if the contention of the district attorney at that point in time was that we will revisit these cases as necessary and continue prosecution if deemed further necessary. Again, not a direct quotation, but essentially the sentiment there. So, the question now is what happens with any of those remaining cases. And so, to my understanding, and further upon the reporting from our news partners there at KFOX 14, that they will be still progressing with other cases. This is not a shut everything down until we get it figured out kind of moment. Essentially, this is a keep the wheels moving as much as possible until next leadership steps in. And so that should be coming. There are a few kind of deadlines here, whether or not the resignation is accepted at that point in time. I think there is like an 8-day post hence minimum. There's some Texas law statutes that are being referenced that come up into this. So there are timelines essentially in effect. And one other thing I will say that has been stated by, well, the office that was going to be furthering the prosecution of the removal case for the district attorney, that is El Paso County Attorney Joanne Bernal, saying, quote, speaking to our news partners there, upon effective date of her resignation, my office will dismiss the removal proceedings. I appreciate that DA Rosales' decision to resign was a difficult one. It is time, however, that we all focus on ways in which we can work together to improve and repair the criminal justice system in El Paso and ensure a smooth transition to the next DA administration. We need the needs of the victims, our community, and stakeholders must be our primary focus. So, yeah, there's probably going to be a bit of upheaval, and hopefully things will continue on as necessary. Further statement from Joanne Bernal, again, county attorney in this case. The DA's announced resignation does not mean the automatic dismissal of any criminal cases. She remains responsible for ensuring the continued prosecution of existing cases. The community and victims in particular should understand that the law provides for a transition to ensure the protection of the criminal cases pending in the district. So, yeah, this one's going to be probably for those involved in the legal community, probably quite the seismic event. And even for those generally in the community and those, well, pretty much looking at as we definitely have some of the major potential and ongoing prosecution, TBD is a lot of it here, because the tenure and the tone of whoever comes in next is going to have a lot of impact on how some of these cases are being done. So we will see, as we also have RJ and Edgar Ortiz, Edgar on board with us, and RJ saying goodbye and better luck at chasing ambulances. Get a good scanner and learn the frequencies while you might have access to them. Again, frequencies are not what they used to be, but tell you what, we're already past that need for that first break this hour right now. Coming out of this break, more on this. Also, some of the other situations, including some south of the border immigration enforcement in its own vein that could be seen from our segment here. So all that and more, whole lot to talk about. Hope you all had a restful Thanksgiving, because we're back into it here today. Back live in the studio and back on all of the stuff that we do, talking about the things that affect us here in the borderlands. So comments going in over on the social media, as we've been mentioning here, and calls a little bit later in the program, as we usually do. In any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash has closed the I-10 50 miles east of El Paso. Eastbound lanes are all closed. Expect a 1-hour delay in Fort Hancock that starts at exit 42. Gateway West at Hawkins, you got an injury accident. A crash with injuries reported on Paisano Drive eastbound at the 110. And an accident Wrestler southbound right after Red. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
A lot of things have changed with the real estate market this year. Hi, it's Glenn. But with Brian Birds of eXp Realty, you don't have to worry about whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, because Brian's exclusive options and unique strategies make the market work for you, whatever's going on. Brian spends 25 times more on marketing than most agents make in a year. That means he's going to get your home sold faster and for more money, because the potential buyers will see your home. And that is what creates demand, which gets you faster result and top dollar. In fact, he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. Another great option you need to sell quickly is Brian's instant cash offer. No showings, open houses, no hassle, just money in your pocket. Brian Birds is the agent that I would trust in El Paso. Besides that, well over 400 people have given Brian a 5-star Google review. You can read them by Googling Brian Birds. That's Brian, B-U-R-D-S, or check out brianbirds.com.
Want to get 7 streaming services for the price of 1? Sign up for a smart bundle that'll stimulate your brain. Featuring Curiosity Stream with the best documentary films and TV shows. Nebula for thought-provoking content from your favorite creators. And One Day University with the best lectures from the country's top professors. And so much more. It's perfect for families with all kinds of interests. And great content for kids. It also makes a perfect holiday gift. Now at 40% off, get all 7 services for only $3.50 a month. Sign up now at smartbundle.com.
Make the season even brighter with beautiful jewelry from JTV. Shop JTV.com and get $25 off your purchase of $50 or more when you use code RADIO25. You'll discover more than 40,000 jewelry designs and gifts. That's enough to keep everyone on your list sparkling all season long. Plus, new customers will receive $40 in brilliant cash to use toward their next jewelry purchase. Shop JTV.com and use code RADIO25 and fill your holiday with sparkle.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, where a lot of the comments come in, but we have a robust enough presence on those other platforms as well, Facebook, other Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Again, whatever works best for you is the right place for you to be here. Got someone such as RJ, Edgar Ortiz, John Hurwitz, Eric von Holstein Rathwell, Artabeza Gardner, Austin Redfern, Richard Janisic, Ed Clore, and James Holmes tuning in, chiming in, dropping those likes, reacts, comments, what have you. Again, comments, that's one of the better places, or set of places, better way to put it, that you can comment throughout the program as we continue talking about things that affect us here in the borderland. And again, that seismic shift that is coming, or I guess honestly, kind of looking at it as past pretext, those kind of thing. Rumbling has been going on for a while now, and I don't hold much animosity. This is kind of a situation, even if incredible amounts of frustration, and those that are, and maybe even rightly in doing so, holding animosity there. I'm just hoping that we can get El Paso's legal prosecution system back on track here. Again, referring to there, if you're just joining us, what's going on with the El Paso District Attorney's Office with District Attorney Yvonne Rosales resigning effective middle of this coming month, just before really December 14th, 5 p.m. and or by that point, I guess is the better way to put it. Now, of course, it's worth noting that there were at least 2 times this week that Rosales has been ordered to appear in court. Now, not entirely clear what will be happening with those right now. Supposed to appear on Monday, having to deal with the recall trial after, all of those things, and was ordered by Judge Sam Medrano in court Monday, so attorneys can formally withdraw from the case after filing a motion on November 18th, again, according to our news partners there. And then, of course, the one from Wednesday involving the August 3rd case, and after having not been present during the previous hearings and also not able to be found, according to filings from the defense attorneys in this case. Yeah, a little bit of a, there's a lot of phrases that I kind of want to use here. Let's just call it a mess. Let's just stick with that for right now, because again, not knowing necessarily all of those situations here. And honestly, I'm not even sure with this resignation that necessarily all of these things go away. This Monday one, again, we'll have to keep our eye with our news partners there to see if anything actually comes from that, since it was related to her removal order. But since that is going to be accepted pending her following through with the resignation, I don't know, there's a few question marks that go on there. So we'll see what comes out of that. But then, of course, the gag order, even if you're necessarily no longer in a position, I could still see a judge of a right mind or two, given how much control they have over their courtrooms, definitely wanting to consider and continue with contempt possibilities. So, not necessarily saying that's going to be the case here, but if you've ever had to stand in front of a judge and like you're not the one that's on trial there, but you have the judge angry at you, it's happened to me at least once, maybe more, that I'm blocking out here, but it's not the most pleasant. It's not how I'd spend an afternoon. Let's just put it that way. And they are very much in charge of their domains and their courtrooms. So good luck if you are found to be in any way contravention or threatening, but in the way of it. Let's put it that way. And at least one of the questions I know that's been put out there about who a potential successor could be, I think that's going to be, and RJ actually asking about that, saying that let's hope Abbott puts someone in who has strong organizational skills who can get caught up. Can't imagine what the new DA is walking into. I mean, that's where the speculation starts coming in. Again, just some of the evidence we can see from the outside when it comes to the dismissal of cases, though something that I've at least have conversations on, even if we didn't discuss it on air this way, was the changing tactics that have been going on in the DA's office, even in the lead up to this whole situation coming today. Hey, this is one of those times when my mild conspiracy theory that all the big news happens right after we're on air did not end up happening. So I appreciate that. And RJ, yeah, never take off the ref subtext judge in this case. Absolutely agree. It's a bad way to be, and one I did not enjoy finding myself. And again, at least once. Don't think it happened more than that, or at the very least managed to find my way out of the firing line. Any case, point is that the kind of indications that we have from outside of the district attorney's office at this point in time, beyond, I mean, honestly, the narrative, pick a point and you could draw a line through where we are today, because it wasn't too long after the actual election that happened here. One of those consequential things coming out of the otherwise consequential 2020 election, because it was, of course, James Montoya, existing employee and assistant district attorney within the district attorney's office, that ran for the office and decided, not unsurprisingly, to resign in the aftermath of it. I mean, you could chalk that up to sour grapes if you had to. But beyond that, then there was also some statements that he was making at that point in time, but then also other resignations that came along with it. Now, of course, any new elected official has their rights, as is allowable under law, to build and construct their office as they see fit, make hiring and firing decisions. But that was one of those, one of those points that I think will start getting brought up more as there's more of a kind of like hindsight analysis going on of this. And this whole situation, yeah, one of the so the points I was actually trying to make there before getting into this retrospective view is that there's likely to be, reorganization is going to be just necessary and probably baseline at this point because of all the dismissals. The roughly 1,000, even if more were being sought, that seems to have tapered off for the moment. So, yeah. That is one indication, but then also has been wrapped up in some of the reporting involving, again, the August 3rd case, is that, well, one of the reasons, as noted by El Paso Matters here back in July of this year, District Judge Sam Medrano rebuked Rosales for quote-unquote grandstanding in her handling of the 2019 Walmart mass shooting case. And, of course, the gag order that has been put into place as a result of that particular statements he made, the judge that is, then also some mixed reports about a lack of progress happening in that case, also being stated in the open court at that point in time, saying that you want this case to proceed swiftly, and yet you have not been moving forward as is required, was essentially the sentiment being put forth. So those are at least a few indications, really, if you want to play a connect the dot game with this. Point is that we don't really have a clear view of what the situation is inside the district attorney's office at this point, but clearly in upheaval, as it is, of course, resulting in not even just these court cases, that their situation is mildly in flux, but are, I think at this point, more or less expected to dissipate before too long, at the very least involving her actual full resignation, but then culminating the resignation, quite the narrative indeed here. Anyway, that's going to take us through that next break right now. Not to focus on this the whole show, though it is one of the more consequential things going on in the community at the moment. Some other things involving border security, immigration, but not necessarily from the U.S. side of things. And then also what the holiday shopping situation is looking like, what some of those numbers are, particularly for our community. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. More comments coming in. Keep those going. Delve into more of those after we come back from this next break. Again, phone lines a little bit later, as we usually do. In any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso District Attorney Yvonne Rosales has agreed to resign on or before December 14th. Rosales' move comes after accusations that led to a petition to have her removed from office. Rosales wrote a letter of resignation to Governor Greg Abbott stating she will resign by December 14th at 5 p.m. George Alhana, first Assistant District Attorney, will serve as the temporary replacement, according to Richard Roman, Rosales' new attorney. Rosales was expected to make a court appearance for her removal case this afternoon, but she has not been seen in public in weeks. And over the weekend, El Paso police reported a 12-year-old child from Mexico died as a result of being hit by a vehicle. The child was running across the border highway with her 27-year-old mother from Mexico. When officers arrived at the scene, they say they found the driver of a 2009 Ford F-250 had struck the two females. The 12-year-old died at the hospital from her injuries. The 27-year-old mother did not suffer any visible injuries. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
On your El Paso freeways, there's a crash reported. Police are responding to an accident I-10 westbound at Reynolds. The backup is growing. I-10 westbound from Airway to the Patriot. It's a 5-minute delay right now. Injury accident reported Gateway West at Hawkins Boulevard. And that earlier crash on the 10 eastbound in Fort Hancock has stopped traffic for 1 hour. All eastbound lanes are closed starting at exit 72. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We've got a wind maker that will be knocking on our doorstep, and those winds will get going, especially for your Tuesday, where we will see some areas of blowing dust and a windy, warm day. Now, the winds will subside as we get into Tuesday night. Then comes our cool front to bring in a drop in temperatures. Log on to kfoxtv.com for your latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by WellMed, specializing in primary care for people on Medicare. During the Medicare annual enrollment period, choose a plan that includes WellMed doctors. They care because your health matters. Visit mydocmatters.com.
Hey, Sean Hannity here from my dear friends at Lone Star Transfer. I love these folks. You know, with all of us traveling so differently these days, timeshares, they're kind of becoming a thing of the past. Now, if you're stuck in one, you don't have to be. Our friends at Lone Star Transfer, they can help you. Now, with skyrocketing assessments and maintenance fees, still owning a timeshare is very risky. And for over a decade, Lone Star Transfer, they have successfully helped thousands and thousands of owners legally, permanently get out of their burdensome timeshare. They have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Now, Lone Star Transfer is a family-owned company. They have earned their reputation for delivering first-class customer service. They're going to guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation, 833-594-0075. That's 833-594-0075, or online at LoneStarTransfer.com.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff going on out there in all segments of our listening audience, really. Again, phone lines open up a little bit later in this segment, as we usually do, but a lot of commentary coming in over on those social pages. Again, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. including howdy to you as well. Sean Gardner chiming in there. And RJ saying, referring to the district attorney situation, again, if you're just joining us, District Attorney Yvonne Rosales announcing her resignation effective December 14th, 5 p.m. And or by then, I think is the better way to put it, according to the information we got so far. RJ saying that Rosales must be so disappointed after the new wardrobe and makeover for Court TV. Honestly, I don't. I mean, if you see that as a motivation in your own analysis, of course, entitled to it. But given both what has been going on during this trial and the lead up to it, referring specifically to the August 3rd trial there, and even some of the foundational things. We did have interviews with the candidates, as we often like to do, as much as we can cram in. Anyway, in the lead up to that 2020 election, the district attorney's race was, well, pretty much decided through the Democrat side of the primary ballots, as there was no Republican challenger. One of those fiddly situations that we still end up having here. And Richard Janessi, greetings to you as well, of course. But actually, when it comes to, again, the Court TV part of it, one of the more interesting answers that has stuck with me since, and we've got the recording around here somewhere. I'll have to dredge that out here, maybe one of our upcoming shows or those times out of the office. Maybe we'll bring that one back up, that kind of thing. We got more holidays. We're almost in December. You all know what's up. In any case, it was very interesting, very telling to me that at that point in time, again, in the election process, that it was actually said that by Rosales that she did not intend to be leading the prosecution, that she intended to be making sure that the best people were the ones leading the prosecution. The best way I can put it here, and paraphrasing heavily on my part here, but that she was going to take on a more of a managerial role, making sure that the tools and what the materials are needed are in place for those that are going to be doing it. So that's why, even if much there was, again, those statements of grandstanding and other things being made by the judge and in similar-ish kind of court filings, not exactly the same kind of phrasing, I don't know if Rosales, even at the outset, intended to be the face of that prosecution, or if that's why, among other things, even in the lead up to this, there was outside attorneys being brought in from other locales, other places, those kind of things, in order to help be the lead on this, particularly as one or more of those prelude things I was referring to here, that was actually that the lead assistant district attorney, to my understanding, announced his resignation from the office as of last week. So, yeah, it's been complicated. So I guess what I'm saying, I'm not entirely sure that she intended to be the face here. That's kind of getting into trying to divine motivations or motives by people, which is just a fraught process anyway. But yeah, I think there should be a lot of attention being put around the situation. I mean, previously this has been making at least statewide news, Texas Tribune, Texas Standard, things like that. So yeah. Anyway, one of the things that I'm thankful of for Thanksgiving here is that we're not under a boil water order. Houston, including several school districts, boil water notice until Tuesday after a power outage at a water treatment plant being noted, because with potential contamination going on there. So hope you all had a better Thanksgiving than that. Houston, I mean, it wasn't happening over but it's not a great way to end the Thanksgiving weekend, I guess is the best way to put that. But some of the interesting situations going on with shopping around here, I don't know if any of y'all went out and tried to do the whole Black Friday situation. A little bit more low-key, it did seem, than it has been in previous years. At the very least, not a whole lot of places doing the doorbusters, a lot of sales already in place, or at the very least not doing the right after Thanksgiving dinner, head over here or you're going to miss out on everything kind of thing. Seemed to work out a little bit better. Again, I'm not the one out there throwing elbows. I've retired as champion in my own way of our Black Friday experience better part of a decade ago, if not more than. Got one of the 10 TVs they had in the store, and I was like, I'm never going to do better than this. So I have not participated since, and I actually still have that TV, so it's worked out for us well enough. But in the midst of all this and the parades and celebrations going on around our area, there was an interesting bit of enforcement going on the south of the border part of it. Specifically, again, noting from El Paso Matters here, Juarez authorities dismantled Venezuelan migrant camp along the Rio Grande, including with some pictures from El Paso Matters, actually from a little bit earlier in the month, on some of those eviction attempts here. So specifically, it was, and quoting from El Paso Matters here, various state and local agencies descended on the site of the quote-unquote Little Venezuela migrant camp early Sunday morning to raise tents and makeshift shelters, encourage 800 migrants to seek refuge elsewhere. And specifically quoting Enrique Valenzuela, director of the State Council on Population, we have been insisting for some time that they need to go to shelters. The object of today's action is to relocate them to humanitarian spaces where they can receive food, medical attention, job officers. So an interesting move on there, and actually there is a video from El Paso Matters on that was going on earlier that was on the 27th here. So an interesting situation, and Sean Gardner saying had to go out on Black Friday. Surprised as to how mellow most people said he was. Traffic wasn't bad, etc. Okay, maybe it was just my bad luck on Friday, having to go around and running into some backups. Frankly, Wednesday as well. At a certain point, I was wondering if we were going to make that show for the day, but ended up working out. And glad we all made it back where we were. But seems like the shopping season, beyond these actual differences going on with the immigration situation, get some camp breakups. I mean, I'll just put a pin in this for the moment here. The reason that this is worth mentioning is that it has been, interesting just to see the philosophy essentially going on with Mexican authorities within this, because on the balance, outside of any specific situation of which this could technically be included, the more or less standpoint of Mexican officials at most levels has been, as long as you keep moving, it's not our problem. So when it came to things such as, MPP, migrant protection protocols, so-called remain in Mexico policy, and even Title 42 now, as this could be seen as an offset of, even if we are more deadlines coming up, they're looking at the end of that program a little bit past the middle of this coming month. Yeah, serious issues. RJ saying if Sleepy Joe won't stop the flow, maybe AMLO will. Though, AMLO, referring to Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, I don't know if I'm totally going to put money on that idea. Again, as much as the idea of betting on politics or policy in this case is just gives me the ick. I just got to say that. But I don't know if I'll hold my breath, better way to put it there, on him actually doing anything, because there has been this back and forth. There was more happening at a certain point during the previous administration and had gone back a bit. But now it seems that's essentially, based on this and some other things being reported on by, including other local nonprofits, including the Border Observer and Diocese of Migrants and Refugee Services, things like that. Some of those reports going on there. There's even more enforcement happening on Mexico's southern border. Again, Belize and nearby countries being noted specifically, Belize and Guatemala, I do believe. So that is, it would be not exactly a sea change, but maybe a return to some previous enforcement going on, because since there has been more of a stoppage and just changes in the migration patterns that we're talking about here. Again, the whole Venezuelan situation is thrown, much as the Haitian situation did for its time and standpoint, throw a wrench into the, I'm not going to call it the well-oiled machinery, but the way it had been working anyway, that is causing maybe changes going on with there. This was not exactly a coordinated enforcement effort, but it was noted that El Paso Sector Border Patrol agents lined the bank along the National Guard soldiers, El Paso Police, and County Sheriff's deputies. And there was also a Department of Homeland Security helicopter circling overhead during the impasse on there. So, again, they're also noted as part of that article from El Paso Matters. Here's that wait for the 21st, because that is that date when Title 42 is going to see its removal is the current plan there, as there has been a stay of its removal until that point in time. If this is getting all very complicated, you're not alone. This has been a developing situation in a whole lot of ways, and so that's why the 21st is one of those inflection points. And as much as there was questions about how this back and forth, because there was the federal judge ordering the removal of the enforcement of Title 42, the pandemic era restriction, basically that was a more or less a one-line executable of, if entering, remove due to pandemic restrictions, is what it essentially came down to. Yes, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it wasn't exactly a great purpose and then policy statement. It was pretty simple, but it became very porous over the portion of the last administration, as they saw the drawdown of, again, MPP, Remain in Mexico, so-called, and then the removal of this program, Title 42, had been some back and forth on it, particularly when it came to the Venezuelan situation. But now, as that drawdowns happened, one of the questions that had been remaining for me anyway was what would be going on, particularly in the migrants, immigrants, coyote communities. And so the idea that this date is apparently pretty well ingrained, or at the very least in mind there, it is It's a very interesting situation to know that date will probably be, well, as much as there have been the local statements going on about if we're ready or how we need to prepare for whatever comes next. That date should definitely be circled in red on anyone that might be involved in these situations' calendars. Probably will be on mine in any case. So with that, let's go ahead and take that next break right now, because more I want to talk about when it comes to the shopping and the economic situation, as Sean hinted at there a little bit. But let's go ahead and open up those phone lines as we do at this point during the program. So if you want to get on the line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. Let's talk about the things affecting us here in the borderland. Let's talk El Paso. Back after this break with more. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An earlier crash on I-10 in Fort Hancock has closed I-10 eastbound lanes, but the delays are getting better. It's down to a 30-minute delay now that starts at exit 42 in Fort Hancock. Stop and go traffic on the I-10 westbound between Hawkins and the Patriot. It's a 10-minute delay. Injury accident reported Gateway West at Hawkins, and an accident reported I-10 westbound at Reynolds. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has you covered for all your custom printing, just in time for the holidays. And right now at Staples, you can save 60% on custom holiday cards and invitations. In-store and online offer ends 12/3. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Explore more at Staples, the working and learning store.
A lot of things have changed with the real estate market this year. Hi, it's Glenn. But with Brian Birds of EXP Realty, you don't have to worry about whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, because Brian's exclusive options and unique strategies make the market work for you, whatever's going on. Brian spends 25 times more on marketing than most agents make in a year. That means he's going to get your home sold faster and for more money, because the potential buyers will see your home. And that is what creates demand, which gets you faster result and top dollar. In fact, he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. Another great option you need to sell quickly is Brian's instant cash offer. No showings, open houses, no hassle, just money in your pocket. Brian Birds is the agent that I would trust in El Paso. Besides that, well over 400 people have given Brian a 5-star Google review. You can read them by Googling Brian Birds. That's Brian, B-U-R-D-S, or check out brianbirds.com.
Mom, Dad, let's talk. Before you know it, I'm out of here. I want to go to college or start a business. My allowance ain't gonna cut it. Ooh, sorry I said ain't.
The UNEST app puts smart investing tools right in the palm of your hand. And with the UNEST gifting link, friends and family can contribute to your child's account. Start investing today. Download the UNEST app from the App Store or Google Play. See terms and conditions at unest.co. That's UNEST.co.
It's important to live healthy and to be with the right healthcare team.
For us, that's WellMed.
WellMed doctors get to know us, and they help us to live healthy. They coordinate with specialists and the pharmacy so we get the care we deserve.
Because your health matters.
The Medicare annual enrollment period is October 15th to December 7th. Visit mydocmatters.com or call 888-824-9568. Calling this number will connect you to the brokerage, a licensed insurance agency that can answer your Medicare questions and help you choose a plan. We accept original Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans.
Visit the El Paso Mineral and Gem Society Show, December 2nd through the 4th at Almeida Shrine Auditorium, 6331 Alabama Street in El Paso. Free admission, parking, door prizes, and more. Visit epmgs.com for more info. Join us.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, being on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, we mention those because, well, it's useful if you want to make sure you can know where to get at us. Again, if you got a radio and you're anywhere within our larger region, you're plugged in, get at us here. But again, if you ever find yourself having those signal issues, the atmospherics can be involved here. It's not a direct wire to you, over the air that is. So yeah, your mileage may vary more specifically, but always online there as well. Got to recommend that you download the iHeartRadio app most specifically if you're ever wondering about it. We also have Manda Manganda joining us over on the Twitch stream. Appreciate it. Yo to you as well. And guys, let's back to those phone lines now. Again, those open now. The number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make a few comments here. You know, with all the buzz around the Republican Party now having all these hearings, some of the things that I would like to know about these hearings is the funds, the billions of dollars of fraud in California on the COVID-19. And I also heard you say that there are hundreds of billions of dollars that ended up overseas in foreign countries on the unemployment funding. So I would really like to know what happened there.
I mean, that
okay, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, that is a significant one. I mean, yeah, if you got another one that you want to look at, that's important here. But I mean, this is being reported since start of this year. I mean, $78.1 billion, according to NBC News earlier this year, potentially fraudulent economic injury disaster loans. So, I mean, this is not nothing to sneeze at on its own amount here. If you also got some other fish to fry there, anytime that gets, I will agree, I will admit, I forget about it sometimes, but anytime it gets brought up, I'm often reminded of, yeah, this was bad.
It was the greatest fraud I've ever heard of American money going overseas.
Yeah, and just, I mean, some of the situations we're aware of happening locally, let's just say it that way, is significant in its own right. But in aggregate, it was, I mean, again, I don't care how much you're talking about, as much as you're going by the billion here, billion there, you start talking real money. This is, at least earlier this year, estimated nearly $80 billion. And I am sure if more work has been done on that, more has been uncovered. So, yeah, it's a problem.
I agree. The other thing I'd really like to know is, as the Center for Immigration Studies is reporting, Mayorkas back in September of 2022 went to Mexicali to ask for a favor. And the favor was set up shelters so that illegal immigrants wanting to cross our border would go to their shelters. Mexico would pre-approve them. And so part of it is that the Mexican government, get a load of this, is entering into Customs Border Patrol -1. That's what the online service is called. They are inputting all the data of people that they are pre-approving to hand off on the U.S. side. Now, there's a gentleman, Aaron Gomez, who is the administrator of one of the shelters, and he said that now it's collusion, it's bribery, it's extortion, and it's a mess. And he says it's just not working, and they've called it to the attention of, and he calls us Americans. He says, we've let the Americans know that that's what's happening. So what they're doing is they set up these shelters. And I don't know if you recall, I called several months ago where there's an organization that received millions and millions of dollars from our government so that they could have lawyers and anything that illegal immigrants entering into our country would have available. So there are lawyers, there's doctors, there are law students, and they have psychologists in case they need them. And if you're coming in on violence or whatever, these lawyers or students actually call the country in which the incident happened. They file a report no matter how long ago it happened. They get a fax back, and that's a report that they need in order to come into the U.S. If it's a medical condition, you have doctors who will examine them and give them a medical report, and they get in. If you have psychological trauma, they have psychologists there who draw up the report and let you into the U.S. And then they wait like 2-3 months in the shelters
Mhm.
and then they are bussed in. Now they're saying that you get on this list, and the people who have a list are actually charging these illegal immigrants between 1,000 and 10,000 pesos, between $250 and $500, to put them on a list to get them in the U.S. So this is just a corruption, and Gomez says that he believes that it's to minimize the number of those crossing illegally. These are not in the book. They have no idea how many people have crossed this way. And yet we have Mexico entering data into our Customs Border Patrol portals. I see that very dangerous, especially if there's already bribery and everything, corruption with these facilities. What assurance do we have that the cartels aren't sending people in through that, and that they have their own people processing them, and they're going to come here into the U.S., set up shop, and who knows where it goes from there. So this administration, I would really like to know if, in fact, this is what's happening, because, look, they're supposed to have a shelter in Juarez, and the handovers to in El Paso. They're supposed to have a shelter in Nuevo Laredo to go to Laredo, Reynosa to go to McAllen, and Matamoros to Brownsville. And that's just Texas. I didn't talk about Arizona and California. So this is a very dangerous process that they're doing, and they believe that it's to skirt the laws. And I don't doubt it, because that's what Biden does, this administration. They skirt the law until they're caught, and then they're in court, and then they've bought that time. So this is just standard procedure for the administration. I just think that everybody needs to be aware. And I'm wondering how much of this our Congresswoman knows about. She works closely with Mayorkas. If, in fact, he did that and she's aware of it, then she's being disingenuous with us. And we need to get the bottom of this. So those are the things that I want to hear from committees.
I mean, I think that this community changeover is going to be, I mean, all these investigations, I think there's going to be a few that are going to be pretty transparently politically motivated, but also those that are definitely necessary. The fact that there hasn't been one already on what the heck has been going on when it comes to those coronavirus business loans essentially is, that has been concerning in its own right. But tell you what, we got to take that break right now. So we'll keep talking about this after the break here, but thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely there. So got to take that break to get the top of the hour here and not get in trouble that way. But if you want to get on the line again, we do have those phone lines open. The number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We'll be back right after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Stop and go traffic on the I-10 westbound between Hawkins and the 54 Patriot with 8-minute delays downtown. That earlier crash on the I-10 eastbound is cleared. All eastbound lanes are open in Fort Hancock. That's good news. 54 southbound between Stan Roberts and Kenworthy is a 24-minute delay. And I-10 westbound slow at Lee Trevino due to multiple vehicles up on the right shoulder. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
When you need your home or business clean, leave it to the big dogs. Bulldogs Professional Cleaning won't quit until your space is sparkling clean. We do it all. Carpet cleaning, pet treatment, deep cleaning, and more. We provide superior service using eco-friendly chemicals. Trash and appliance pickup is available with a disposal fee. Your prices can't be beat. See why homes, offices, and restaurants have trusted Bulldogs Professional Cleaning for 7 years. Schedule your cleaning today. Call Bulldogs Professional Cleaning at 915-694-4643.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The White House says President Biden will keep fighting to ban assault weapons following recent mass shootings.
There were families this past Thanksgiving holiday who looked around their table and there were missing members of their family because of this gun violence.
During a briefing, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the president believes it's important to keep the gun issue on the minds of Americans. Biden recently said he was going to try to get rid of assault weapons during the lame duck session, despite an uphill battle to secure 10 Republican votes in the Senate. Former President Trump is facing even more criticism for his recent meeting with Kanye West and white nationalist Nick Fuentes at his Florida resort. The Orthodox Union released a statement saying Trump's association with them is deeply worrisome. The union described itself as the nation's largest Orthodox Jewish umbrella organization. It wants Trump to condemn West and Fuentes. People across the Mid-South are being advised to prepare for the possibility of severe weather Tuesday. Forecasters warn of a severe weather event to unfold starting in the afternoon and into Wednesday morning. Parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas may see strong storms and the threat of tornadoes. Businesses across the U.S. are pleading with Congress to prevent a nationwide rail strike.
The business groups wrote a letter to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and others to impose a contract or extend a negotiation cooling off period in order to keep the railroads running. The Biden administration warns a nationwide strike could cripple our economy. The strike could happen as early as December 5th. I'm Lisa Taylor.
The man who's back in charge of Disney says he's keeping the hiring freeze that's in place. Bob Iger spoke to employees during a town hall after he was reappointed as the entertainment giant's leader. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The world's largest active volcano is erupting. Phil Hewlett reports.
Mauna Loa on the big island of Hawaii started erupting late last night. Volcano experts with the U.S. Geological Survey say lava is still erupting from the summit and is overflowing from the caldera. There's no threat to communities at this time. The eruption follows several weeks of increased seismic activity at or near the volcano. This is the first time Mauna Loa has erupted in 38 years. I'm Phil Hewlett.
Global health experts are giving monkeypox a new name over concerns the original name could be viewed as racist and stigmatizing. The World Health Organization will begin using Mpox following a series of consultations with experts. Both names will be used simultaneously for a year while monkeypox is phased out. Monkeypox cases are often found in Central and Western African countries, but an outbreak hit Europe and the U.S. in May. As if New Yorkers needed another reason to hate rats, apparently some carry COVID-19 mutations. Sarah Lee Kessler has more.
Rats. Yes, we're resilient.
New York City has millions of rats, with sightings up 70% this year compared to last. And now there's news that scientists at the USDA and the University of Missouri have discovered COVID mutations in some rat species. We're talking Omicron, Alpha, and Delta strains in 16% of the 80 Norwegian rats captured in Brooklyn and tested. While there's no evidence rats can transmit COVID to people, researchers say there is evidence the virus has jumped from humans to white-tailed deer and minks.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever continues to rule the box office. The sequel to the 2018 Marvel Comics adaptation earned nearly $46 million in its third weekend in North America's theaters. The new Disney film's Strange World was second. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Water heating can account for up to 25% of the energy consumed in your home. Save money and energy and improve the comfort of your home by turning down the temperature of your water heater from 140 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It can save you up to 22% on your energy bill annually. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/earth.
Ho, ho, ho!
It's Santa. The elves are busy in the workshop while I broadcast live from my special studio on iHeartRadio. It's my very own radio station, North Pole Radio. It's all your favorite Christmas songs and me. You can listen to me anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app, and it's really easy to play me on that smart speaker I gave you last year. Just ask Alexa to play North Pole Radio on iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio. Merry Christmas.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of housing discrimination.
It's so wrong.
But who has the power to stop this?
You do. The law is on your side. If you've been discriminated against because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status, file a complaint with HUD. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
Visit HUD.gov/fairhousing, a public service message from HUD and the National Fair Housing Alliance.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways you can chime in, as well as Flaco Menace is doing there. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. Certainly share the sentiment. Hope you did so as well. Because, yeah, we need a break every now and then, even if we're going to dive straight back into it this week, coming weeks. And, I mean, we got some of those times out of the office coming up for you. It's the holidays after all. So, got some times when we'll be not here with you. But for the most part, back on track, back on schedule, back with all the things we do, or at least try to do the best we can. We'll just talk about the things affecting us here in the borderland as discussed by those who live here, because no one else is going to have that discussion, whether it's someone else from outside the area trying to tell us how we think or feel, which is just never worked out, even if it didn't ever feel right. I just don't think it works that well for people trying to say that, oh, no, this is totally what you think, guys, and you're on board with us, right? Because the answer often comes out of, what? No, that's not it. That's not at all what's happening here. So that's part of the reason I do what we do here, because I've had that compunction for years, and probably longer before I could really figure out how to articulate it. In any case, if you got something you want to articulate, a lot of ways to chime in, as people are doing over on the social media. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents, such as Flaco Jimenez, Amber Banda, Eric McNabb, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, Ida Beza Gardner, Ted Kors, Richard Genesik, Ed Clore, and James Holmes, among others. And then also, of course, those phone lines, particularly if you feel like articulating it, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Let's go ahead and get back to those phone lines now. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing?
Hmm?
I hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, you too as well. Definitely had a relaxing enough one. We're back at it in any case.
Yeah. When word gets out, okay, one of the things that, you said something about that it's complicated what's going to happen on December 21st.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be that complicated. When word gets out that on ABC News Extra last night, the Judge Samaniego said that he did not receive Abbott's invasion decree, that all the other county judges on the Texas border happened to get. There will be a large neon sign lit up that the illegals will see from miles and miles, probably thousands of miles away, that will say, "Welcome Entrada aquí Paseo del Norte."
Okay.
What do you think? You don't think that's going to happen? I think there's going to be I think, Samaniego was saying that that they were planning on having 650, being able to take care of 650 people at their processing center and everything. That's what he envisioned.
Right.
And I think 650 per day is going to be, probably maybe 10% of what we're going to get if this happens on the 21st.
Well, let me just clarify here real quick. Were you talking about a metaphorical sign or an actual, like, literal physical sign? I guess that's the point where I'm like a little bit.
Of course, a metaphorical
okay.
sign.
Good, because if I had missed that,
it's going to be a big, huge sign that everybody in the world can see, saying that if you want to come into the United States, El Paso del Norte is the place to come in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because,
now I'm on the right page with you. So, okay. I was wondering if I had missed this idea of having a huge literal sign here, but okay. The metaphorical one we're talking about here, that I guess that's been, okay, maybe if don't have issue with it, might not be the right way to put it, but I guess I'm not surprised given how divorced essentially the El Paso and then the rest of Texas, the state-based or local-based border security and immigration efforts have been, even if in the sum total, I mean, we're still kind of in it whenever it comes to the border situation. I mean, checking on even just the city of El Paso's, the migrant crisis dashboard, I noticed a jump of about $2 million of expenses as of this quarter. It was technically as of the end of October, but I hadn't noticed that recently, so that we're up to about $9.52 million in estimated costs, with about $2.2 million have been received so far, again, just from the city's reckoning side of this here is. So I'd say that your numbers kind of bear out with the situation we're in right now. The community releases by calendar week for the last full week 47 by the city's reckoning, we're about 5,400 community releases, and some of those numbers including the encounter 7-day rolling average as well as the in custody 7-day rolling average, respectively about 1,700 and about 3,500 each, is significant. So if that's the level we're at right now, I guess my concern would be that you're roughly 10% calculation there. It might be under that. And that's really the problem that we were encountering. There is always, ever since I have been aware of the border and immigration situation, like I'm talking about as a young person, then as a young professional, there's always been a low level of this. It's when it reaches the overwhelming levels where basically local resources are no longer available because they've been used and they're just not available due to the amount of it. It's never really been the situation in the past, and that's what leads to particularly the local implication, the issues with it. So I hope there's not going to be a literal or metaphorical sign saying, come here, this is the location to do that, because I don't see that working out well for us, any of the organizations involved in it, or when it comes to the actual anyone involved in it, any level. I don't think that's going to work out well, whatever the pronouncements of we're ready or not. That's like, it feels like calling for a tsunami and thinking, no, the levees will be fine. It'll be just fine, when not thinking about the serious amount of just issues that this is going to cause if not handled exactly correctly.
If you listen to ABC News Extra last night, Judge Samaniego was saying exactly that. That we've been able to take care of this up till now. We're real proud of ourselves. We're processing 400 a day now and everything. And he's sitting there saying everything's going to be fine. And we don't have to look into any other avenues of support because we're going to be being able to take care of it. The tsunami is coming. Yeah. And we better watch out because that wave is going out now and it's going to come back in with a vengeance.
I mean, I didn't see the full thing myself here. I've seen some of the wrap-ups of it, and I mean, just based on what the county judge specifically referring to there had said previously about we've got it and we can handle this kind of thing here. I don't think that worked out last time in the aftermath of the previous time that was said, and I don't see that. I don't see that being the right standpoint without a hell of a lot of evidence and resources to back it up this time around. I think that underestimation is the likely outcome of this unless something significant has changed, which I'm not aware of either.
Yeah. One other thing, Biden gave a license for Chevron to start producing oil with an American ally. Oops, I meant to say the Venezuelan oil company run by the communists there, and who is producing some of the most polluting oil in the world. Meanwhile, a U.S. ally in the region, Guyana, has denied their request.
interesting. There's one thing that came up to me. It wasn't one of the ones I planned to talk about today, but was reading up on it from the Texas Tribune here. They've also approved plans to build the nation's largest oil export terminal off the Gulf Coast of Texas, which would add about $2 million per day to the U.S. oil export capability. So that's an interesting other one that has come out recently here. So there's some interesting moves going on when it comes to fossil fuels and particularly oil and energy supplies, it looks like.
Yeah. Also, for a more personal note, one more time, Messiah Frankly, what did you mean when you said to remember what Rex said to me? I would really want to know from your mouth what you meant when you said that.
Okay, I'll try to make sure we get that from that here.
Let's go, Brant.
Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. Give some chance for people to get on the line there. I mean, we got calls on the line here, but if you want to squeeze in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
No major crashes on your El Paso freeways right now. That's good news. I-10 westbound is slow with 5-minute delays airway to the Patriot. It's slow on the 54 southbound Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy with a 20-minute delay. A stalled truck is blocking the right shoulder, Trans Mountain westbound at the 54 Gateway, and road construction has the left lane closed both north and southbound on Donovan Drive between Thorne and Red. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
The hugs, the joy, even the sleepless nights. Whatever you get from parenthood, you always want to give your children everything. And the UNest app makes it easy to save for their future. The UNest app puts smart investing tools right in the palm of your hand. Plus, you'll grow your UNest account with every purchase you make from over 150 top brands like Disney Plus and DoorDash. Start building your child's financial future. Download the UNest app from the App Store or Google Play. See terms and conditions at unest.co. That's UNEST.co.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Annual enrollment is from October 15th to December 7th. This is the time to select a Medicare Advantage plan and start enjoying great benefits. Part C plans can help you add vision, dental, hearing, prescriptions, gym membership, and some plans can even help reduce the cost of Part B. If you are new to Medicare or just need to renew, Medicare Prepare is here to help. Visit them at 10295 North Loop Drive or call Medicare Prepare at 915-626-5113. In-home appointments available.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
You hear the phrase a lot this time of year, happy holidays. But holidays are not always happy, particularly for guys grappling with a divorce that they didn't choose. These men need more than the help of a good lawyer. They need the hope and encouragement of a good friend. Be sure to remember him this season.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Also got that phone line there that, just filled up at the moment, but take it down if you don't know it already. And again, here's a hint: if you ever get ending a call, that might be your best chance to try and call in again. And the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And we'll get back to more of those calls here. This time around, phone lines open through the end of the hour, as we usually do, to discuss all the very important things that we have during this point during the program. I mean, there's a lot going on here today. Do a brief recap of some of the things we've discussed today. The resignation, impending resignation, announced to be done resignation. There's a lot of technicalities here. So, district attorney is going to resign. That's one of the main headlines and things that are definitely making even statewide headlines around that today. Von Rosales announcing that in a letter to Governor Greg Abbott. But then also some interesting Mexican side of immigration enforcement, or at the very least, the camp dismantlement, to be more accurate there. Also, some things going on with the holiday shopping season. This is why I've said that particularly locally, the whole idea of recession and economic downturn has been a complicated picture at best. Again, from our news partners there over at KFOX 14, looking like there was literally tens of billions of dollars spent on Black Friday and over the holiday shopping weekend here. Specifically looking like there was about $9.12 billion spent on Black Friday, just online sales, and about 4.6 and 4.96 on Saturday and Sunday, billions, that is, respectively. And there was about 63.9 million people expected to shop on Cyber Monday. So that's why, according to the National Retail Federation, overall holiday sales between $942.6 billion and $960.4 billion. So let's just call that just shy of $1 trillion being spent this holiday shopping season. So yeah, that's why I call this a complicated picture, because, well, if anything, that could even lead to potentially the idea of stagflation, of maybe not exactly reduction to the economy, but of prices continuing to go up. That's one of those boogeymen that hasn't really existed in my lifetime, at least that I'm aware of. But in any case, yeah, interesting, complicated picture, best way I can put it here. So I'll just stay safe and look for those deals as safely as you can if you go out there anywhere locally. But let's go back to those phone lines now. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. This is while you were gone for 4 days, I thought that better to do except do some research on American history. Mm-hmm. And ever since we went back at the American time, before we were America was the United States of America, blah, 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 1605, 1620, anywhere in that ballpark. Mm-hmm. You have always had dissension in the ranks. I mean, in the revolutionary times, you had the loyalists, you had the revolutionaries, sure. Right? Mm-hmm. And then in 1865, you know, with the unionists and the seditionist stuff and everything else in between. And now you got even today with this division politically and otherwise, even today. Now, where this ends up, I have no idea. Whether or not our democracy, the way it's established, can confront this, that will we have the resilience, whether or not we could survive this kind of idiocy, I have no idea. I'd like your input on that.
Yeah, I remember a line that sticks with me is that, remember when we used to think that ignorance and dissension was caused by people not having access to information, and then the smartphones and internet came along and we realized it was not that? I think that is, we can be stupider faster is what the internet has really allowed us to be. So it's not so much that we thought that, well, if people with good information out there and everyone will learn the right way and learn how things really are and all the problems will be solved. It's human nature is more the issue that we keep running into, because ultimately the human psyche, as much as we're getting some of our usual bounds here, but it's definitely related to some of the discussions we've had, the human psyche, we interpret our world through frameworks. There are certain ways that we understand the world because we're not just taking in all information all the time at the same exact level. We'd go crazy. We can't process that kind of thing. So we have certain ways, like take roads, for instance. We see lanes on the roads. We have stop signs. Those are frameworks we use to interpret the way traffic flows. Now, if all of those were to change all at once here, probably a lot of accidents and other traffic issues being caused here, but you'd be left very confused on the roads. You'd be left wondering, how do I even deal with this? What am I supposed to do if all the roads, or if they were all just erased? So frameworks are not just nice things to have. They are literally foundational for how we exist and we interpret this increasingly fast-paced world. And as a consequence of that, if someone's framework ends up getting challenged, like if someone out there were to say, put forth the idea that, you're not supposed to go in between the lane markers, you're supposed to be on top of the lane markers. If someone out there was doing that and putting that forth as an idea, I mean, people would probably reasonably react to it as, no, that's literally dangerous. You're going to cause accidents. But if this became a political question of, no, I think people should do this, then you end up with that kind of conflict. And as a consequence, you would end up with people that, if you're challenging their framework, their basic concept for how they interpret the direction and the lane that they're traveling in, as hostile. They will treat it as an attack on themselves. And so I'm using a very specific and outlandish example, of course, here. But the fact of the matter is that is how the human psyche reacts to challenging information, shall we say. That if something challenges the framework that you have in any aspect of life, whether it be, yes, streets and roads would be one of them. That hopefully won't happen in my life. And I hope I didn't just do a Simpsons moment here and say something will happen in the future. But point is that the human psyche reacts as if it has been physically wounded, if there's something that challenges things to its core, which is why one of the major reasons that, as much as there are some out there that want me to do scorched earth and lambast everyone here, having discussion is the more rational way to go about it. So if you don't want to get down to your major question about how we've had division in the past and how it seems to almost be accelerating, again, being stupid faster is not just a joke. It's literally a consequence we're dealing with here. But also the fact of the matter is that it's all a lot of one-way stuff, even with the advent of, TikTok, Reels, Facebook, and all those, the short-form media. It's a lot of it is one way. A lot of it is put out, and you just got to take it, and you end up subscribing or following what you like and ignoring what you don't like. It has accelerated that process. So that's why I think that discussing things, actually talking about them, and coming to maybe not exactly consensus — I'm not here to enforce a consensus by any means, but at least making it hopefully a possibility — is more important than is given credit for, I got to say.
Well, you said so many things that are so absolutely 100% right, and other things I would take umbrage with. But it just boils down to, in our democracy, this great experiment, and it brings me back to the days back in either high school or college when you were in lab. You went into a lab and you did an experiment with chemistry, or you did some kind of a biological thing, right? If you blew up the lab, you had no place to do the experiment. And this is the United States. This is a big lab. If you blow up the United States, you got no place else to do the experiment, for crying out loud. So if you got all these people that believe 2 + 2 = 5, I don't care how long and how often you talk to these people, and if they still believe it, you're going nowhere with that. So, having said that, in answer to befuddled Ben, the easiest way to say this without getting in violations of FCC stuff, Ben, all I ask you to do is get on Google or get on Yahoo, get up on a search bar, and just type in what Rex Tillerson said about Donald Trump, a.k.a. Donnie Dotard Doofus, and you'll have your answer. And also, can you keep me on the phone because I got nothing but static on this blasted radio? Can you do that?
Yeah, sure thing. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Keep me on the phone.
All right, we'll do, so you can hear parts of it here. We don't do that a lot, but in a pinch, particularly we have guests coming up, we will do that here. So, tell you what, let's get to one more call before we hit that next break. Then again, the number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. Reference immigration.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and what our county judge said about us being able to handle this matter.
Right.
Well, put it this way. It is easy to spend somebody else's money. You just either print it or you raise more taxes.
Yeah, that can make it complicated. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, and we would not be in this situation, number one, if Biden had not extended an open immigration policy, an open door policy. Well, he not only put out an invitation, but he took the door off the hinges.
Referring to the policies such as like, we were talking about earlier, MPP and those kind of things?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So it really is upsetting that we are always finding more ways or trying to find more ways to process these individuals coming across the border rather than preventing them from coming in. So that's one of my big gripes. I don't hear anything productive from these individuals that are advocates.
Referring to the kind of the bucket and the faucet analogy that we've talked about a couple of times here, that it seems that in general and outside of any specific examples, essentially that the right-wing solution has been to focus on the faucet, whereas the left-wing example has been more to work on the buckets as well.
Yes, provide more buckets, as many as the taxpayers can afford.
Of course, that's a gross simplification, but useful metaphor for at least a consideration of it here. So we'll see what happens. Again, that big date to December 21st coming up as well. So we're seeing that, again, metaphorical or not, and hopefully not actually lit up sign out there. And so I guess that you're kind of disagreeing with the analysis that was being put out by the county judge of being ready for it?
I disagree with everything that the county judge says.
Yep, fair enough here. But again, we'll see what comes up with it. And honestly, I'm not going to be too surprised if there end up being more court challenges before that, given that it's already been progressing through, I guess, depending on what the administration wants, because I got to say, given that this was an administration action to re-expand, I guess would be the right way to put it, the Title 42 enforcement whenever it came to the Venezuelans, I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be totally happy with the idea of even losing that, because among other things, it would have to involve them putting forth new policy that might upset certain segments of the base. I will say that much. I mean, for the moment, what has been able to be claimed by the administration has been that, oh, no, we're not putting new policy in place. We've just had these holdovers that we either have had to or haven't been able to get a law passed. So they've been able to kind of, in doing so, either kick the buckets down the road to either Congress has to do something or saying, well, this is just what we got from the last administration, so we got to keep doing it. So I'm not going to hold my breath on this, as I never do on any of these issues, but I wouldn't be surprised that there might even be another bit of court action ahead of that date, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, let me just say this. The Biden administration is getting its talking points and pressure from these left-wing pro-immigration groups. Mayorkas and the president have no intention of enforcing immigration law. One other thing, let me reference something Frankie said. This great experiment of called the United States has long endured because we have a system of laws and checks and balances. And I will end this. If you're a student of literature or have read some of the works of famous authors and philanthropists, well, I can say this: Will Rogers never met Frankie in his life. But I digress.
All right. Well, thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, have a good one there. And with that, we will go ahead and take our next break right now. So coming out of this break, more calls in line, more commentary, more discussion about the things that are definitely affecting us here in the borderland. But let's go ahead and take that break. So if you want to get on the line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. El Paso District Attorney Yvonne Rosales has agreed to resign on or before December 14th. Rosales' move comes after accusations that led to a petition to have her removed from office. Rosales wrote a letter of resignation to Governor Greg Abbott stating she will resign by December 14th at 5 p.m. George Alhana, first Assistant District Attorney, will serve as the temporary replacement, according to Richard Roman, Rosales' new attorney. Rosales was expected to make a court appearance for her removal case this afternoon, but she has not been seen in public in weeks. And over the weekend, El Paso police reported a 12-year-old child from Mexico died as a result of being hit by a vehicle. The child was running across the border highway with her 27-year-old mother from Mexico. When officers arrived at the scene, they say they found the driver of a 2009 Ford F-250 had struck the two females. The 12-year-old died at the hospital from her injuries. The 27-year-old mother did not suffer any visible injuries. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 westbound is slow because of a tow truck block on the right shoulder. I-10 westbound at Mesa Street exit. 54 southbound slow with 36-minute delays. Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy. I-10 westbound is bumper to bumper. Airway to the 54 Patriot with 7-minute delays. Liberty Expressway eastbound from the 10 Gateway to the Loop. It's a 5-minute delay. And George Dieter northbound after Treywood, an accident reported. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We've got a wind maker that will be knocking on our doorstep, and those winds will get going, especially for your Tuesday, where we will see some areas of blowing dust and a windy, warm day. Now, the winds will subside as we get into Tuesday night. Then comes our cool front to bring in a drop in temperatures. Log on to kfoxtv.com for your latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Some banks can make it complicated to redeem credit card rewards, but with Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
A lot of things have changed with the real estate market this year. Hi, it's Glenn. But with Brian Birds of eXp Realty, you don't have to worry about whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, because Brian's exclusive options and unique strategies make the market work for you, whatever's going on. Brian spends 25 times more on marketing than most agents make in a year. That means he's going to get your home sold faster and for more money, because the potential buyers will see your home. And that is what creates demand, which gets you faster result and top dollar. In fact, he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. Another great option you need to sell quickly is Brian's instant cash offer. No showings, open houses, no hassle, just money in your pocket. Brian Birds is the agent that I would trust in El Paso. Besides that, well over 400 people have given Brian a 5-star Google review. You can read them by Googling Brian Birds. That's Brian, B-U-R-D-S, or check out brianbirds.com.
Tune in to the El Paso History Radio Show this Saturday, 10 to noon, here on 690 AM with your host, Andrew J. Polk, brought to you in part by Pepe's New Mexican Restaurant and Cantina, 6761 Donovan Drive. That's the El Paso History Radio Show, 10 a.m. Saturday, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Join GDIT to make a difference, impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make an impact.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. And a lot of commentary coming in there. A lot of people adding their 2 cents, which, of course, you can. But dropping those likes and reacts, what we do appreciate. Do have over on there Flaco Jimenez, Amber Banda, Ion Graham, Monica Cervantes, Robbie Flores, Ida Beza Gardner, Ted Kors, Richard Genesee, Ed Kors, James Holmes, and more. Don't always all show up here, but some of the more recent ones, including also over on the YouTube, RJ and Crazy Texan. Thanks for chiming in over there. And Robert Carrasco asking specifically, saying, wasn't it Samaniego who wanted an additional $9 million for 30 days for a processing center? If so, does he really believe that we're ready and don't need help? I mean, there are a lot of questions about the local funds being put towards some of these things that, well, raise questions for me anyway. I mean, the funding amount, and the fact of the matter is that the city of El Paso was looking for roughly about $7 or $8 million or so in reimbursement. Still about, what is sustainable? I mean, some of those funding questions, yes, have come through, but I mean, there are emergency funds available and ordinances that have been passed to that extent for those kind of things. So just to say that as we see the lead up to the 21st unexpected, this keeps creeping back up into the conversation. I wouldn't be too surprised here. But again, if you want to get on the line, and Crazy Texan is Steve and Christopher. Thanks for letting us know that we just go based on screen names. So if you want us to say it, let us know. But in any case, let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And calling in the middle of a segment, or we didn't get you on the line there, we might get popped up live. So be prepared for it like we're about to do now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Raul.
Hey there, Raul. What's on your mind?
Well, the reason that this Ivan Rosales, DA thing is such a big deal is because of the fact that, she's supposed to try the case against the Trump terrorist killer who drove 600 miles from Dallas suburb to kill himself some Mexicans after hearing the racist, xenophobic rhetoric of the most powerful man in the United States, followed by millions of lemmings in his cult. And so when somebody with that much power, with that much influence, with that kind of soapbox speaks, it has effect on people, especially if they're nutty, especially if they're racist, xenophobic, gun nuts that are ready to drive 600 miles to kill some El Paso and some Mexicans. Now, had Trump not said any of that stuff, I doubt it would have happened. Because nobody has talked like that, at that level before in the history of this country. And look what it brought El Paso. The worst thing that's ever happened in our community because of Donald Trump's rhetoric. And both of our elected congressional representatives, Beto O'Rourke and Verona Escobar, who represent this community, felt the same way as I am. Put the onus on Donald Trump for his racist, xenophobic rhetoric.
I guess that doesn't come as a surprise particularly, but let me just say it this way. There is no justification for what that, again, indicted shooter as is being made, a point being made here that there is no conviction happening yet. And as much as I have been wanting to make sure that this process goes off correctly as possible, as little influence I have on it here, the one thing I can say is that just making sure we refer to this the right way, that this is a pending case with an indicted individual in this case who has been identified. And there have been some other public statements and things, including writings that have been identified by local and even beyond law enforcement as being linked to this individual and are worth commenting on in their own right here. But let's not get ahead of it here. This is a court case that is pending, and while I might not totally agree with your characterization of it here, we'll say this is going to be the probably most significant bit of prosecution that has happened in the region in, I'm pretty confident in saying, in my lifetime, because the amount of significance this has for this community and for other groups and other things involved here is it's significant. There's just it's hard to overstate how much this means for people who are here and the people who have been directly impacted by it. But let me just say it this way, that again, putting the cart before the horse and getting ahead of the process here, because I mean, I don't want to get anywhere near, I don't want to describe it the way I want to, but of saying that things should happen that have not already happened in court. Let me just put it that way, because that's the best way I can think to, and not also violate FCC, because as much as there are, I am sure, plenty of individual implications out there, it is frankly statements like this and things that come out in discussions like this that can influence things upcoming, such as change of venues. I do not want that trial to move out of this community. It happened here. It has affected people here and the people that live here. And I don't care if you were present that day, if you just know someone does, or you're just in the community and have experienced the collective pain that we have all felt by it. That case should be tried here. and as of yet, I'm not aware of any filings towards moving it out of the community, any changes of venue. But I also would like it to be tried by those here who have experience in those things. And that's, I guess, one of the biggest travesties from my mind that has come about with this whole district attorney situation, is that put any kind of question, whether or not it's a full question, whether or not that it is, whether or not it is something that has totally put into question, the fact that a question has arisen from this entire district attorney process and issue and now culmination that we're looking at is bad. I'm just going to come out with that one here. Again, a lot of other words that I can't say in these circumstances. So you call whatever the worst part of the situation you is here and blame whoever you want here. What I'll say on your core assertion there when it comes to the people that are really on trial, I guess is the kind of way you're coming at it here, is that none of those thoughts or statements originated with the personage of the former president. I think that he definitely played with fire in trying to stoke a base or find those who are willing to support him here. And those in positions of power need to be careful with what they say, because sure, it might be that there's a definable small, a 0.0001 whatever percentage of people that will take something completely at face value and act upon it here. But once you start reaching millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, those percentages start becoming real whole numbers, and the percentage game starts becoming very real indeed. So if you're ever wondering why I am decently careful with what I say, I'd like to think that I'm decently careful with my words, because words do have meaning, they do have impact, and just saying that, well, I was just talking is not really defense in my mind, either what I'm saying here when it comes from any different public officials. So yeah, should things have been said? Have I disagreed with things that pretty much every politician, including the former president, has said? Absolutely. But then putting the essentially metaphorically or even literally the implement in their hand, that also, I mean, the reason I want to see this prosecution happen is to make it clear that, hey, there is no defense for this. And any equivocation along those lines is just not going to be well received on my end. Let's put it that way. Anyway, and if you're thinking that that counts as promoting the former president, all those theories on individuals or races here, I'm going to need you to get past your own personal baggage here and actually listen to what's being discussed there. So thanks for the point in the call for what it's worth, but got to take that next break now. Again, taking a few more calls before we get to that last bit of the hour here till we got coming up for you on the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Last calls to squeeze in if you want to get on the line, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound is slow because of a tow truck block on the right shoulder. I-10 westbound at Mesa Street exit. 54 southbound slow with 36-minute delays. Stan Roberts down to Kenworthy. I-10 westbound is bumper to bumper. Airway to the 54 Patriot with 7-minute delays. Liberty Expressway eastbound from the 10 Gateway to the Loop. It's a 5-minute delay. And George Dieter northbound after Treywood, an accident reported. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Join GDIT to make a difference impacting the lives of individuals and families. We're hiring bilingual Spanish-English customer service representatives with part-time opportunities available. Apply now at gdit.com/make-an-impact.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways for children of all ages to learn about sustainability and environmental education at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
we welcome open-minded individuals
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
with open arms
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
for open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com.
Sometimes life makes choices for us,
So we need to make the most of the choices we do have. If you qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, then El Paso Health Plus is the plan for you. This local plan offers supplemental benefits like dental, vision, OTC benefits, and much more. El Paso Health Plus also has programs designed to keep you independent and healthy. You have choices. Choose local. Choose El Paso Health Plus.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous. Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed. Shouldn't we listen? They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
You hear the phrase a lot this time of year, happy holidays. But holidays are not always happy, particularly for guys grappling with a divorce that they didn't choose. These men need more than the help of a good lawyer. They need the hope and encouragement of a good friend. Be sure to remember him this season.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Remember the days of watching Saturday morning cartoons in your pajamas and eating a big bowl of cereal? We're bringing it back to the Alamo Drafthouse East on Saturday, December 3rd at 9 a.m. Bring the family to watch the holiday classic Elf. With free interactive props and an all-you-can-eat cereal bar. Plus, you can bid on great holiday gifts in a silent auction to benefit Mike D's Big Adventure. Tickets are $20 per person in advance at Eventbrite.com. For more information, visit Mike D's Big Adventure on Facebook.
I know him. Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. First, I'll remind you about a couple of the things we're working on for you for upcoming shows. Among many other things that we've discussed today and are impending, that state legislative session, Texas's biennial? Every 2 years. Screw it, just say it that way. Every 2 years, we do this mad dash of politics, of lawmaking, of just everything involved with it. So we got that coming up for you, and the process has been pretty much going on till before now anyway, but kind of got confirmed by, who got elected in these most recent elections when it comes to the State House. No, we didn't focus on that one as much, but we're already working on some of those interviews for you whenever it comes to the actual representatives that we have in our region, but also just all the things that they're going to have to be putting up with this. Again, the not exactly, multi-billion dollar coming in. Sean Gardner also making a note there of that whole tuning in, saying that the different stations that you hear from different parts of the world because of the atmospheric conditions starting to roll in now. Again, that's fascinating to me. That's my nerdery, and I will own it fully there. But in any case, more of the situations we'll be discussing along those lines coming up for you in the coming days as we get to more of those interviews for y'all. So, again, the real point to know about this is then more discussion about clips and statements made by them. Let me just put it this way. Again, I choose to be very careful with what I say and what we talk about, even if we do take on a lot of subjects from out in the community, because being in a position of power comes with it a lot of responsibility. Not necessarily referring to myself here, but, well, I get to talk to more people by voice in a day than the average person does, at least in our area. Take that very seriously, because if you're not, if you're just messing around with it, the hell you're doing. But also, the fact of the matter is that a platform like this, or anyone in the elected official or not kind of world, comes with it responsibilities. Because, and RJ with some interesting assertions about what's coming into Austin there. Again, sometimes you just got to look on the social media, because there are things that not saying that one would totally get me in trouble, but let's just say I'm not going to repeat that one. It's a common assertion. Let me just put it that way. In any case, point I'm trying to make about when it comes to discussions, when it comes to talking about important subjects, is I think that this whole idea about how we talk about things, or that, well, you have to be polite, that you have to, defer to the other person here, is that, I choose to speak, to understand, and then seek to be understood. That's just the way I go about things in life, because I don't see a really better way to do it. Because, you may talk first and talk forcefully, but, well, what's the old phrase? Better to be quiet and thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt on the matter. I've certainly gone past that line a lot of times here. But the idea of just saying that, well, I got to let people be, or not actually talking about things. And I think there's just a couple of common misconceptions about how we do this show. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. That is, oh man, if we ever were going to do that, that went right out of the window day one, I got to say. But if you're really going to say that, well, you have to enforce my ideas, that's not going to work out for you either. Really, there are a few things that, sure, are not up for debate or discussion, such as a person's right to exist, people's right to choose how they want to live their lives in ways that do not harm others or those around them. But really, within that point, if you're just wanting to say that, well, you have to enforce what I believe and therefore you're wrong, it's never really going to work out for you, at least not on this platform. And that's why I think that to not necessarily change someone's life or mind, because if I was doing that, I would have just entered the clergy and been done with it. But point is that talking about things, the things that are important to us, the things that are of great significance, impact, and, well, really affect our lives daily, are worthy of being discussed and really delving into the details with it. So if you're wanting to do that, you're in the right place. And we'll keep doing it every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., as we do each and every week. Again, we got some time coming off here, a couple of Fridays that we will be missing, but don't worry, we'll keep doing the free-for-all shows, even if they're not on Fridays, each and every week. There are some things that are, dare I say, sacrosanct on this show on its own, so we'll keep doing those here in any case. That's going to do it for us for today, closest to a sermon as I'm there going to get before the holidays here. So I want to thank each and every one of you that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show, because seriously, I think discussing things, not proselytizing, not saying my way or the highway, is something that has been missing in our lives, in our society, and in the way we have discourse. And, well, we're going to keep being focused on it each and every weekday that we're here. Again, with New Year's and Christmas, we'll probably be taking that Friday, but don't worry, we'll do it, talk about it Thursday, I think is the best we've come up with so far. But in any case, I want to thank each and every one that did tune in, call in, comment, participate, and be a part of the show. Seriously, being involved, being a part of it, putting yourself out there. I know it takes some doing, and I don't expect everyone to do it. Had a great conversation with a gentleman who runs a classic car service over the weekend, and he listens in, so shout out to you there, and hope you're driving safe out there. But seriously, take this into your lives and make of it what you will, because not keeping it to ourselves, not siloing our lives, and not making it, well, I won't argue what's important to me until I'm sure everyone will agree with me. It's just not how this works, and not how it should work. So we'll leave it there for today. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Until next time, as we are live every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., I want you all to stay safe out there, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. Back with you again tomorrow with more live shows, as we are each and every day this week. So have a great one, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
An accident slowing traffic, I-10 westbound at Geronimo Drive exit. It's blocking the left lane, stay to the right. I-10 westbound airway to the loop. That's a 7-minute delay, all bumper to bumper. Liberty Expressway starting to slow down eastbound between the 10 Gateway and the loop. It's a 5-minute delay. And an accident reported Sunland Park Drive at Donovan. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
New on Curiosity Stream, NASA's Parker Solar Probe has pierced the sun's corona and survived. Can scientists now warn us of the next devastating solar flare? Don't miss Breakthrough, Voyage into the Sun. Plus,
Space, the final frontier.
boldly go back to Star Trek's beginning and see how Martin Luther King Jr. helped make the show live long and prosper on a new episode of That Time When. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. And for a limited time, get 40% off our annual plan. That's just $1 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously